Today we're going to discuss different evidences for evolution. So there are 6 main supports for evolution. They are the fossil record, geographic distribution, vestigial structures, comparative anatomy, comparative development, and comparative molecular biology. So the first one is the fossil record. So the fossil record is history of life as documented by fossils, which are their remains or imprints of organisms from earlier geologic periods preserved in sedimentary rock. So fossil record, every fossil that's ever been found and recorded goes in the fossil record. So in a few cases, the original substance of the hard parts of the organism is preserved, but more often the original components have been replaced by minerals deposited from water seeping through the rock. Occasionally, the original material is simply removed while nothing is deposited in its place. In this case, all that remains is a mold of the shape of the plant or the animal. So that's what constitutes a fossil. Fossils are incredibly important for evolution because they can basically help us update and compose phylogenetic trees and phytograms as to how life branched and split from one another at different times. And fossils also support the plate tectonic theory, which is that plates were once all together, so that supercontinent Pangaea, if you've ever heard of that. And one reason we know that's the case with fossils is you can see how South America and Africa kind of look like they could piece together or fit together. The same fossils, the same periods of time were found on the coast of South America and Africa. So you would know that they were once together at one point in time. They were not just found on different continents, a whole ocean apart at the same time. They were once together. So geographic distribution. So this is just how life is distributed across the planet. So the following factors influence the geographic distribution of life: climate, terrain, migration, competition, and the plate tectonic theory. So literally the plates moving and separating to different parts of the globe, that means the environment is going to change, that means the climate is going to change, that means what is best for survival is going to be different in those different environments. Life was literally moved when the plates were moving across the planet. So that was a huge factor of geographic distribution. The next most common one is probably migration. So if life literally just moves from one place to another, that means we're going to have a different terrain, different climate, different environment, different things that are advantageous or not. And that's going to affect life, and what is best for survival, natural selection will differ, and so on and so on. Okay, vestigial traits. So if something is vestigial, it is a small remnant of something that was once much larger or more noticeable, or particularly for biology, is some organ or structure that is degenerate, rudimentary, or atrophied, having become functionless in the course of evolution. So vestigial traits are basically things that you have as remnants from ancestors. So your ancestors used them, but you yourself, the descendant, don't really use them. It's just the remains. It's like a lingering effect or trait. So in humans, for example, that would be the tailbone. So ancestors of ours used to have tails. We technically, if you want to call a tailbone a tail, it's just literally one bone as opposed to a long series of bones that make a tail. The appendix, that's an organ that's vestigial. It doesn't really do anything in humans, but in previous ancestors, it did. It was something else, or it did something else. Diving bradycardia, this is essentially a slowing of the heart rate in marine animals, so aquatic animals. Humans have this, even though we don't live in water at all. Like still have that response. Wisdom teeth, that's still a vestigial trait, and then same thing for tonsils, also vestigial. So again, lingering, remaining traits from common ancestors. All right, next is comparative anatomy. This is essentially just looking at structures of different organisms and comparing them to see how similar or different they are from one another. So in the images, you can see like a human arm compared to an elephant, turtle, frog, horse, cat, bat, bird, and whale. You compare how similarly or how different they are from one another, and then you can piece together a phylogenetic tree or a cladogram. Another thing is comparative development, also called comparative embryology. So basically you're studying how life develops from its first cell of existence to growing and developing into its full adult multicellular form. You can see in that middle image a fish, salamander, tortoise, chick, hog, calf, rabbit, and human, how their development is compared. Across those species, you again look for similarities or differences to again piece together a cladogram or phylogenetic tree. Then the last evidence is comparative molecular biology. This is the most accurate way to determine how closely related certain species are to one another. And the reason it's the most accurate is because you're literally analyzing their DNA and looking for molecularly how many differences there are. You can also do this for particular traits. So you could look at, for example, in that top right image on cytochrome C, if all those species have a cytochrome C, you can look and see how many differences in amino acids, which again is that unit of protein, how many differences there are there. Or you could look at something else like hemoglobin beta chain. You could see how many amino acid similarities or differences there are there between species. The more differences, the more distantly related, the more similar, the more closely. And this is the last slide, just again summarizing the 6 main supplements for evolution. Thank you for watching. Please share and subscribe, and remember to spread